Hey there to all you rebellious souls out there. It is great to have you here. I'm truly excited to inspire you again today, and I hope that this podcast episode will ignite a new fire within you. So enjoy, and you know what? Feel free to reach out if I can support you in any way. Have a good one. Hello, folks, and welcome to another episode of this podcast. So today I'd like to talk to you about my truth around the topic of balance. And this is a very interesting one because everyone seems to be looking for balance in their lives, in their health, in their work lives, in the way that they express themselves, in the way that they divide their time, for example. And it seems that sometimes we have an idea of what balance is that might not fully honor its truth. So in this episode, I will talk a little bit more about that, and I will try to make it as accessible as I can by giving examples, because the whole topic of balance doesn't just adhere to one area of our lives. It's actually something that we experience in so many different areas. So, and also in the way that we express ourselves. So as a branding expert, I focus on personal branding. Personal branding is very specifically about how you express yourself. So how do you present yourself in this world? So one of the things that I've been noticing for many, many years is that both businesses as well as personal brands, they tend to rely on only one of their qualities as something to put out, as how to express themselves. So, for example, in the business world, it is very normal to claim your position as the authority, to tell people, to explain how knowledgeable you are and that you're very reliable. And this all can be connected to one specific archetype within us. An archetype within us, but also a need that we all have in the way that we express ourselves. So yes, these are great qualities, reliability, being an authority, being very knowledgeable, being solid and steady. It's wonderful. But it only, plays into this one side of us. And that means that this can feel out of balance. Because there's also another side of us and something else that the customer might need that is a little bit more dynamic. So whereas that archetype of the authority is static and reliable and solid, at the same time, both us as humans, we have a need for more dynamic and adventure, but clients as well. The problem that I'm noticing, that I'm seeing is happening in the world is that we tend to focus on this one archetype in how we express ourselves that leaves little space or not enough space for other parts of us to be expressed or to come out. And consequently, this will have an effect on our own well-being and as well as on how clients perceive us, or our audience perceives us. So just think of it, and I focus specifically on personal branding, but I see the same thing, like I just mentioned. I see it in big businesses, but I also see it in individuals. Now let's just focus on you as an individual right now. If you, for example, tend to rely on this one archetype that you put out there because you're creating this image of a successful business person, whatever gender you have, of, for example, the tantric expert, of the very conscious and aware coach. This is beautiful. These are beautiful qualities. But if you're only focusing on one of them, then still the way that you express yourself is going to be quite one-sided. Okay? So, I personally really, when I look back on the years when everyone was still, actually, there's still a big world who does this, but it's not the world that I'm in anymore. Like the world of business, about making money and having 7-figure incomes. It is, for me, a very one-sided image. then again, I also see the world of spirituality and especially in the world of sexuality, I see the same thing happening. I see professionals showing their inner divine sensual part. And that's amazing, but it's also just one side. So when you think of it, so how do you balance this out a little more? And what would balance mean in this sense? The thing is that when we think of balance, we think of something that is happening in the middle. You know, the balance is when you have two opposite sides, like for example, the status-driven authority, and then there's the connector who really wants connection and do something good, and then you find the middle, and that's where the balance is. That is usually how we perceive balance, and that is usually how we try to make sure that, you know, if there is this one-sided image, or if we're only expressing one part of us, or if we feel that, you know, we've moved too much to that one side, we want to go back into the middle. However, the problem is, if you ask me, is that in the middle, there's stillness. There's no friction. So just think about it, that, you know, you have this one extreme on one side, let's call that the plus side, that is maybe overwhelming you, and it might be too much for you right now, or it's not honoring every part of you, or it's creating a one-sided image. You know, whatever it is that you're having too much of, the plus, then on the opposite side there's the minus, you know, like a battery, for example. Now in the minus, you might be underwhelmed, or there might be silence, there might be something completely different, something like an opposite of what you experience on the plus side. And this could be anything. It could be like feeling incredible joy, but feeling sadness on the other side. It could be highs and lows. That is a polarity. There could be light and dark, up and down. You know, there's so many polarities. But if we find the middle, so if we want to move to the middle because both of them feel too extreme and they don't really serve us, that's what we think. If we find the middle, then we're actually moving away from both parts of us. So we're moving away from the plus side to go to the middle, and we're moving away from the minus side to go to the middle. And in the middle, there's actually nothingness. There's mediocrity. And with mediocrity, generally, there is a lethargy. There is no life. There is no emotion. There's no movement. Do you know those that you might have seen what is it actually? It's like an apparatus that has these balls, like 6 balls, for example. And then when on the outside, you let one of these metal balls drop to the others, it will keep bouncing off of each other. And there will be a polarity that is created. All right. So I hope that you know what I'm talking about here. It is quite interesting how, you know, that happens when you actually give, you know, the motion that comes from, you know, that one polarity giving the movement, that the other side will also start moving. However, if there's stillness in the middle, there is like no life. And it's actually the same with what life really is. Like, let's just look at life. The most important part of us for living is to breathe. We need air. But we breathe in and we breathe out. All right. So that in itself is already a polarity, breathing in and breathing out. So breath in itself is a circular movement, and it's not about the stillness in between. No, it's both. Many of us say that, you know, because of the highs and because of the lows, we can appreciate both sides. Because of the lows, we appreciate the highs even more. You know, because of the highs, we can cope with the lows. So life without in and out breath, without that polarity of in and out breath, there would be no life. And it's the same for, you know, when we find balance in the middle, there'll be no life. There is no friction. There is no aliveness. There's no contrasts. It just becomes really dull and static. We want movement. That's the thing. We want movement. So how is this really important? So what you want to think of is that real balance is not in the middle, but the real balance is when both polarities are honored and get a place. So when both the joy gets space and the sadness can be felt as well. When it's not just about breathing in, but it's also about breathing out. When it's not just about finding stillness in meditation, but it's also about hard work, or just at least, working on a daily basis in the mud, Both need to be here in this life for us to experience balance. And the same goes for expressing ourselves. If we only express ourselves in this one-sided way, then we're basically not honoring the opposite, the polarity here. And this is really important. If we're only showing up as these badass entrepreneurs who want to grow their business, then maybe there's a part of us that is not being nurtured that also wants to be expressed. And yes, there can become, at some point there's a work-life balance that gets disrupted. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't be as fiery and as ambitious in our business. It means that at the same time, while we really go for it, while we feel all the passion on the plus side for our business and our purpose and working, that we also have a deep passion for, enjoying life and relaxing and fully going into that as well. That polarity, and that means that you're actually living, is that polarity. That's where the balance is, if you ask me. Now, just to clarify, I'm not talking about going overboard to move into the shadow of both. So I'm not talking about overworking. I'm talking about being passionate about what you do. I'm not talking about, relaxing yourself into pleasure in your private life to such extent that you're basically showing some self-destructive behavior because, I deserve to relax. I've worked so hard. Now I deserve it. That would be an excuse for people who develop addictions, for example. That's not what I'm talking about. Obviously, when it comes to addictions, there's a whole lot more going on there. But I'm just going to be focusing on balance here right now. So balance is not about finding the middle. It's not, because in the middle it is dull and lifeless, actually. Balance is in fact about fully living life. And that means honoring all the parts of life, all the polarity included, all the breathing in and out, the ups and downs, the feelings, oh my God, of the joy as well as the sadness, the grief, the anger. That is what real balance is, if you ask me. By honoring the polarities within you, you're actually honoring all of you, right? Moving away from the different parts of you, moving away from your inner badass businesswoman or man or person, or moving away from your inner authority, or moving away from your inner adventurer. It is not going to serve you. You need to express those parts of you, and there is a polarity here because there are also other parts of you that want to be expressed. There is the one who wants connection. There is that part of you that longs to belong and that wants to feel safe and in harmony and wants to feel nurtured. So honor that part within yourself. Because, otherwise you're going to really just dry out from a lack of love and connection because you're only focusing on, for example, being that independent person, focusing on whatever it is that you're focusing on. This is an example of the two needs that might seem a little bit contradictory, and they are. We have a need for freedom and we have a need for safety. We want to be on our own and independent and find adventure, but we at the same time want the safety and the belonging and the connection. And actually, I remember years ago that I heard Esther Perel's talk about this. And I was like, yes, this is it. I've never forgotten about that. And this is a theme in my life that is big for me. Like, how can I find that full-on autonomy, that sovereignty within myself? How can I honor my need to be free, but how can I also honor my need for safety? You might recognize this. This is something that every individual deals with. Again, it is not about the middle part where it's dull and boring and dead, basically. You can be in stillness as soon as you're dead. Right now, I say find the balance in the aliveness. Find the balance by working with the polarity and giving expression, giving space for all of these sides, the plus and the minus. That will really, truly honor you. So I hope that this sheds a little bit of a new light on what I believe that true balance is. If you have any comments whatsoever, I'd love to hear from you if this has helped you in any way. And please know that, I am also working with a new to find my balance in my own way as well by working with different polarities. So I have just recently launched a new business, which is very much more about the personal development part. Actually, I've been talking about this for a while. If you listen to my podcast, this is not going to be new for you. But I am expressing my message in different ways. So for example, while personal branding is about your inner professional and how you express yourself in your business, this work that I'm doing as a tantric body worker and as a healer and a rigger, because I tie people up, yay, shibari, is all about free expression. It is all about, living authentic lives, but it's a different form. So I'm honoring this side, this polarity within me. I'm honoring this part of me by putting it out there. Otherwise, if I wouldn't do that, I wouldn't be fully honoring me and I would feel out of balance. So with all the work for branding and marketing that I do, that is somewhat mind-based, I do body work so that I can also, honor the body and work with that. That's how I create the polarity. And if you're interested in this, even the work, the tantric work and working on yourself can be done online. So it doesn't matter where you are in this world, whether you want to work on your business or on yourself. I'd be very, very happy to guide you or to support you. All right. Hope that this has helped you and inspired you. And I'd love to know how this lands. So send me a message and see you soon. Ciao. Thank you so much for listening, and I really hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you're hungry for more, please check out my Brand Rebel app in the App or Play Store. It's very easy. Just type in Brand Rebel and you'll find it. It's free and it's fun. For now, have a magical day. Stay raw, stay real, stay rebelicious.